Hello, everyone. This is so different for me. I'm so used to being in front of 300 people and I can actually see their faces, and now I can just see names in square boxes, other than the students that are on here that I already know and a couple of my colleagues. My name's Brandi Johnson. I am the Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students here at Endicott College. I'm thrilled that you were able to join us today. We're in an unprecedented time. This is not obviously what we would usually be doing. We'd usually be embracing you and having conversation on campus, and we're looking forward to when you do come to campus. But today, like I said, we're joined by some awesome students that are going to do some question and answer with you, as well as tell you a little bit about themselves. And I also am joined by two of my amazing colleagues who I'm going to have introduce themselves right now. And then we're gonna pop right in. If you don't have questions, then unfortunately, Nick, Rashid, Julie, and Michaela are gonna get bombarded by me with random questions. So we would love it if you could use the chat box and just ask whatever questions pop into mind. Julie, Rashid, and Nick, Michaela as well, when you are introducing yourselves, if you could say what year you are, what you're involved in at Endicott, why you came to Endicott, just so then that way we have a nice little precursor, so that way students know who they might want to ask questions to, or who they're in general chatting with. So Brianne, if you could introduce yourself, and then Brian, and then we'll go to whichever student starts first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brandi McGann. I'm the Associate Dean of Student Engagement. I'm excited to be talking with you all. I primarily see our student engagement side of things in student affairs, so student activities, community service, spiritual life. I also run all of our orientation programming as well as our first year experience. So excited to talk with you all this morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian Wiley. I'm the Assistant Vice President and Director of Athletics. Thank you for joining us.
Michaela, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Michaela McNamara. I am a senior sport management major at Endicott. I am a member of the women's ice hockey team. And basically, I came to Endicott not only for the great location, but for the internships. So I feel like the internships at Endicott kind of give students passion and direction to follow kind of what they're learning in the classroom. So it's really a big part.
I'll go next. My name is Julie Sanders, and I am a current senior biology and biotechnology student at Endicott. And I've dipped my toe in a little bit of everything. So at one point, I was an athlete. I was an orientation leader. I've been in quite a few clubs. And my main things now is I help run Lighthouse Leadership Society, an honor society, and I work closely with Dr. DeSalvo, our current president. And the reasons why I came to Endicott were because of the internship program and the athletics, but the reasons why I stayed are very different. So I'll go ahead and toss it to Rashid. Okay, I'll toss it to Nick.
My name is Nick Grace. I'm a senior at Endicott as well. During my time at Endicott, I was an orientation leader, a resident assistant. My main thing that I'm known for on campus is I'm a photographer for the athletic department, or one of the student photographers. And the main reasons I came to Endicott was, like Michaela said, the internship program, but also the beautiful campus. I mean, being a photography major, you want to have something to take photos of, so that helps.
Okay. All right. My name is Rashid. I am a senior international studies major in politics as well at Endicott. I am involved with Julie. We work closely with Dr. DeSalvo. I am an RA, so resident assistant. I am also working with the Office of International Education to make the transition from our exchange student very easy at Endicott. I run an intercultural club and so many other things I'm involved with at Endicott, and hopefully y'all will have the opportunity to get us involved when you come to Endicott. Endicott's just been an amazing school for me, and I think it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my life. I made a lot of amazing friends. The program is great. It's very small, so that makes it very intimate. You have the opportunity to get to know professors one-on-one, and it's just been amazing so far for me.
Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate that. I miss you all so much. This is like I have been having numerous meetings with staff members and other colleagues on campus, and I cannot wait to be able to see all of you in person, even the seniors again soon. I'm looking forward to it. But we have our first question, and I am going to have you I'm going to have Michaela start, and then you can pass it, Michaela, to whoever you want until each student has had a chance to answer this one. What have your internship experiences been, and what have they been like?
I think
There we go. Now we're good. So I had my freshman year internship. I did at the Rhode Island Golf Association. So I kind of worked with, I don't know what, oh, there we go. So I kind of worked with the director and put together different tournaments and kind of helped with, you know, managing events, running events and stuff like that. And I actually did that for both my freshman and sophomore year. And through that, I actually got a really prestigious internship, the PGA Boatwright internship, which for sports people, it's a really big kind of name. So it's a good resume builder too. And then for my semester-long internship, I did my junior year in the spring, and I did it at the Pingree School, which is a prep school in North Hamilton, so just down the street from Endicott. So what I did there is I worked directly under the athletic director and worked with her with scheduling buses. I worked closely with the men's and women's lacrosse teams and helped them, you know, provided them with transportation to games. And, you know, just kind of filled in where I was needed in the equipment room, you know, helping with like different AT room stuff, kind of working with games. So just kind of that internship made me realize, you know, that's the environment that I want to work in. And it kind of brings stuff that I learned in the classroom, and it's made me want to keep pursuing that. So those are my experiences.
All right, I'll go. So for my internships, my first internship, basically I worked with a microfinancing company, and I was doing some research for them. And I realized, and I'm really grateful for the internship program at Endicott, because it made me realize that I never want to work in finances. I have no interest in it, but I think just being able to do that internship showed me that that was one direction in my life that I didn't want to go to. And for my second internship, sophomore year, which I actually did, I think, junior year, but I worked with a nonprofit in Salem, Massachusetts. The nonprofit is called Open Door Immigration Services. So I was working with immigrants mostly from Latin America, especially the Dominican Republic. It gave me the opportunity to improve my Spanish language, working with them, drafting basically plans in terms of putting on immigration clinics to show them what their rights were. And I wrote basically a guideline on how to open a free clinic in Salem, because that's what the organization wanted to do, to give the opportunity to immigrants who were low income, coming from low income families, the opportunity to be treated at lower cost. And for my senior internship, I actually worked with Congressman Seth Moulton of the 6th District of Massachusetts. So he oversees 39 different towns in Massachusetts. And primarily I was on a desk job. So I was on the front line with the constituency, working, helping them through different programs such as the Social Security, Medicare, housing, and so many other things, visiting Capitol Hill and all of that. And I also work closely with the immigration caseworker in the office in terms of helping translate, because a lot of the constituency, again, in Salem, Lynn, which are the different areas that the congressman oversees, there are a lot of people who come from different countries. And so I help sitting on meeting, translate Spanish to English, French to English, and other languages, which was great. I also wrote basically help writing policy guidelines, and I also brought basically prepping the congressman whenever he had an interview, an event that he had to speak at. I would help with drafting some of the things that he needed to know about the people who were there. Sometimes I would go to events with him, and it was just really wonderful. I learned a lot about American politics. I learned about politics in general, and it made me realize that the direction that I wanted to go to, Endicott had actually prepared me for. And that was just very reassuring and very different than my first internship experience when I was a freshman. So it's just a really wonderful program. I think I'm going to toss it to Nick.
So my internship experience started off my freshman year with an event and wedding photographer. While I learned a lot at that internship, it definitely was not for me. I realized that I really wanted to be in sports. So my sophomore year, I did an internship with Endicott College right in North Andover, taking photos of their athletics, games, and different events. And then for my senior year, I did what was for me like my dream internship with Duke University Athletics. So I headed down to North Carolina for a few months, and I photographed anything from men's basketball all the way to fencing. They have a very wide range of sports there. And yeah, it was amazing. I've learned so much from my internship programs. And my bosses at all of those internships helped me get the next internship. So currently right now, depending on how the situation goes with the MLB, I will be starting a post-grad internship with the Red Sox. And my boss at Duke directly helped me get that internship. So it's been really awesome to network and get out there into the field.
Great. And for me, as a biotechnology major, initially I thought I wanted to go into pharmaceutical development. So my freshman and sophomore internships were both at pharmaceutical companies. The first was a larger one close to where my parents lived, and the second one was actually on Endicott's campus. We have STEM incubators, which are basically these small companies that come when they're not big enough to rent out their own space, and we basically provide them with a space, but students can also go and learn from them and ask questions, which was helpful for me because that was my second internship. Through that and some of my experiences on campus, I realized that pharmaceutical, the pharmacy industry wasn't necessarily where I wanted to go. So for my senior internship, I wanted to tailor that to maybe some different interests. And I went into looking at, maybe I wanted to go into the practice rather than the development of medicine. And so my senior internship is currently working at Massachusetts General Hospital, and I work for a clinical research group, and we study chronic pain and different ways to treat chronic pain to reduce the prescription of opioids, which has been super cool. So I'm working with patients, and I'm working with big data, and we're actually I'm still working with them because we're hoping to get published, and I'm working on a paper with them, which is really helpful to have on your resume for graduate school. Additionally, I got a question about what plans I have after I graduate. Maybe that's something that we can all address since all of us are seniors. But in July, hopefully, fingers crossed with all this going on, I will be pursuing my doctorate in nursing for women's health. So thank you. So that's in hopes to become a nurse practitioner for women's health. And I'm very excited about that. And then I also have one other question that I'll comment on is the reasons why I came to Endicott were different than why I stayed. Reasons why I came were for athletics. I'm no longer an athlete. That wasn't because I didn't love it. I played volleyball, and I love volleyball, and I love my team, and I love the program, but I got injured, and I just made a decision with my family that it wasn't worth it anymore to continue, working towards that when there were so many other things that I was interested in, wanted to pursue. So the reasons why I stayed were because of the people and because of the other things that I did. I have met the most incredible people at Endicott. I consider all the students on this panel some of my close friends, even though we don't hang out all the time. And I think that's something that is really unique to Endicott is that you meet such a a wide variety of people that you have the opportunity to get close with, which is something I don't think you necessarily get at some of those bigger state schools. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I have gotten numerous questions about housing and the placement process. So I'm gonna jump into that, so then that way all of the students can answer a little bit about their experiences as well. But the housing selection process, or the housing process for a first-year student, is based off of your deposit date. So the earlier you deposit, the more likely you will be to receive your first or second choice of housing. If myself and Julie wanted to live together, and Julie deposited yesterday, but I didn't deposit until 2 months from now, the deposit date that it's going to go under is my deposit date. So we'll get housing preference from my deposit date instead of Julie's. So you need to make the decision when you are picking your housing. Does it matter who you're living with, or does it matter to you which hall you are in? So that's a little bit about that. What happens is all of you are given a housing preference sheet. It will likely be emailed out at this point. That housing preference sheet, you'll be able to rank your top halls that you want to live in, as well as list any quirks that you might have. Or quirks is a weird word to use. Any things that might be a deal breaker for you, like you do not want to live with someone that ever smokes. You can put things like that on there, and we do our best to match up people that way. We don't have one of those like dating sheets where you get to put, I go to bed at 9 p.m. and wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm super neat. We don't have one of those. We found that in the past it didn't work well. It just the students were selecting into, answering those forms with their parents right next to them, and who they are living right now with their parents is different than who they are once they come to college. So for instance, you might be someone who wakes up at 5 a.m. right now, and when college hits and you don't have classes that start till 11, you might become one of those people that wakes up at 10 a.m. So to say you're an early riser might switch. So we don't have one of those questionnaires, but we do have like a notes section. If you wanted to live with someone that's also a nursing major or an art major or an athlete, you can list all of those. And like I said, you can also you rank order where you would like to live. There is a freshman park area. So we have all of the freshmen as best possible in one park, as we call it. There are 2 residence halls that are across the street from the park that are our healthy living halls for first-year students. Those healthy living halls are for students that are interested in living with people who abstain from any type of substance, alcohol, any drugs, smoking, cigarettes, anything like that, as well as that have just a want for wellness. So students that are interested in hiking or yoga, who want to bring their own programs to those halls. So there are 2 healthy living halls that freshmen are also able to select into. The other halls are comprised of doubles, triples, and quads. There are minimal singles. Those singles are typically given to students that need to select in for ADA and that have some type of a need for a single. So the question that is being asked of the students is, what was your experience living in first-year halls? And then what has been your experience in general living on campus? Do you have suggestions is the other question too, of where the awesome spots to live are?
I can start us off. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think and at any institution, it's a massive adjustment going from living in a single dorm to living with other people that you don't really know, and everything's changing. So my advice for you, no matter what, is to just trust the process and just know that you'll look back and realize what a good time you had. For me, I absolutely loved my freshman living experience. I was in Brindle Hall, which before they renovated it, and now it is so nice. You have a common room that overlooks the ocean, which is where I did all my studying, but now there's foosball tables in there, so that's fun. And I actually was in a built-up triple, so it was a room that was meant to have 2 people in it, but actually had 3, which worked out pretty okay. I'm still really good friends with one of my roommates, and one of my roommates I don't really talk to anymore, but and that's pretty common. But it was a great experience, and if I could go back and live in Brindle, I would. And I know that all of my friends that lived in healthy living, if that's something that you're considering, really, really loved it, for those people that chose that kind of lifestyle. So definitely consider that. And other than that, there was only one residence hall that I was like kind of iffy about, but I look back on that and I was like, that was the most fond. Like, I had so much fun, and I lived there with Michaela actually. But every other experience I've had has been amazing. And I used to live in Standish Hall, and it's like you're living in a hotel, and that's pretty common with a lot of the residence halls at Endicott. Is you walk through the hallways and you feel like you're at a Marriott. So that is dependent on the hall, but so I've had a really good experience, and I would recommend it to anybody.
All right. So going off of Julie, I would say definitely, as she said, trust the process. I am been a resident assistant for a number of years. So absolutely, you have a wealth of resources at your disposal. You have people there to help you navigate, because we understand that transition from high school to college, and as Julie said, being in the dorm where you're sharing rooms with people and people that you've never met before and all of that, it can be a little overwhelming, but you do have a wealth of resources at your disposal. And I was in Reynolds, I remember sophomore year, and for me, it's the best dorm on campus. I'm going to be a little biased here. I absolutely loved it. And I would say definitely it's a great experience. As Julie said, it's something that no matter what, you'll look back at, and it will be happy memories. All right. And before I leave, I would just want to say we have a question here in the chat that pertain to, did any of you come in undecided, or if so, what support direction did you receive? But I'm gonna let everyone reply to this question first, but I just wanted to point that out.
So go ahead, Nick, you can go.
So freshman year, I was placed in healthy living. I didn't necessarily choose it, but it definitely ended up giving me like my 10 or so best friends on campus. I think one of my biggest like tips for students coming in is like really sit down and like get to know yourself first. And basically we have a residence hall that will fit your style. You just have to really know what you want. So if you're more outgoing and you plan on meeting 100 people on the first day, and you love talking to people every day, and you love the noise, and you love everything about that, then one of our more like traditional halls like Frady's is definitely for you. But if you kind of like, at the end of the day, going back and just sitting in your room and like having a little bit more low key, something like Reynolds or healthy living is definitely more for you. I know one of the biggest things that I loved about Hamilton was on the weekends when like everything was going crazy. It was nice to just like have a place to go back to, and everyone just like is chilling or having a movie night, or playing board games, or just kind of, making memories that you don't think about necessarily. I think one of the biggest things for me was no matter where you live, you're going to meet a ton of people. And basically wherever you live, those people are going to be there for your next 4 years. It's so weird how many people talk to their friends that they made freshman year. I think it's just something that's really special about Endicott is, while we don't have a questionnaire, they just seem to get it right like 99% of the time. Obviously there's issues here and there, but for the most part, it's really amazing how many people end up being placed with like their best friend for the next 4 years.
And then I'm going to jump in real quick before Michaela talks, because I had a question about, with 3 people in the dorm, how is the space situation? In Brindle, it was fine. There wasn't really a space problem, because we basically had 2 bunk beds, so 1 person on top, 1 on the bottom, and then somebody on the other side. And again, it's just an adjustment period, because I was used to, all my siblings are boys, so I never had to share a room growing up. So it was just about adjusting to living with anybody. but I wouldn't say that space was necessarily an issue. It was just that general switch that was hard for me personally, but I enjoy it. Looking back on it, it was a very good time. All right, Michaela.
So I was actually the first freshman class to live in Frades. So I don't know how many students are in there, but there's got to be at least 300, I would say, probably more. And it was an experience that I would never change. I would never take back. I wouldn't, like, I look back on it now and I'm still friends with 95% of the people that lived in Frades. And I recommend when you know, if you go in knowing someone, room random, because you're going to be friends no matter what, but you meet tons of people with the random roommate process, especially freshman year. I really recommend it. I met some of my closest friends freshman year from going in random. And you obviously have 3 more years after that, if you're still friends, to obviously live with your friends. But just kind of going back to like the overall atmosphere, I can really only talk about Frades because Frades was, I think, my favorite living experience. You know, everyone had their doors open, everyone hung out in the common room. You have study rooms that you have friends go and do, and you help each other with homework. So I think that the overall atmosphere, like Nick said, you're going to find something different in each dorm. So really, if you like quiet, there's dorms for you. If you like talking with others, like open door policy, like the atmosphere itself, there's other dorms for you too. And also, building on Julie's point, there are going to be dorms that, you know, aren't the nicest, are small, and you are forced to share a small space, but you learn how to work with it, you learn how to cope with it. Like it makes the experience itself unique, and it makes the experience Endicott.
Can I take it back real quick on the question that's from Easy? She said, did any of you come in undecided? And if so, what support and direction did you receive? For me, it's very simple. I did not come in undecided. I know exactly what I wanted to study. I know that's not typical of college students. A lot of my friends, for example, had no idea what they wanted to study, and they went through the liberal studies process, and then later on, by taking classes first and second semester, they decided what direction they wanted to orient themselves into. All right, well, Izzy has another question here about housing. She said, are there typical housing options that seniors consider on campus or off campus?
Okay.
Yes, Julie, do you want to take that?
So I'll address both. So Endicott, I think, is unique compared to other state schools, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brandi, but I think that you can't come in undecided. Is that still the case? Wait, you're muted.
I muted myself. I unmuted and muted myself. Me, technology. You're not. It is not typical. But if someone did, it wouldn't be unallowed.
So my roommate came in as liberal studies.
That's right. So yes, that would be your general bucket.
So she didn't know what she wanted to do when she came in, and so she's liberal studies, which means you just take a wide breadth of courses. And through that, she figured out what she wanted to do. And she actually is going into she minored in art history. So she really likes the museum side of things. And she was able to take classes throughout her experience that helped her kind of fine tune what she wanted to do. And it was a really positive experience for her. But I can say that there's a lot of flexibility within majors as well. Like for me, I went into biotech, which is like specifically for pharmaceuticals, but I'm not going into pharmacy. And like I know that there's a lot of leeway in each one, depending on what you want to do, that your faculty and your staff can help you get where you need to be. So, and then what was the other question? Oh, what was the other question received?
Are there typical housing options that seniors consider on or off campus?
So I know that we have like upperclassmen living, and all of those dorms are like fantastic. There's this one, is it Beechwood?
Birchmont.
Birchmont, thank you. And that's senior living, and it's on the water, and
it's a female only option.
Yeah. So and like all the senior living is so good that people don't really live off campus. The only people that I know who live off campus are I know there's a group of male hockey players, but they're all a lot older because of that. Is that right, Michaela?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's because they're traditionally older, like 4 years older, and so they didn't necessarily want to live on campus. But everybody I know lives on campus.
Yeah.
So we guarantee housing for 4 years. The majority of students do live on campus, like you've already heard, everyone. I've also gotten some sidebar questions, and just so you all know, there is one box. It's Brianne McGann. It says ask questions here. If you could ask them there, she's filtering them to me because there's a lot of the same questions, and I don't want to miss, or I'm going to do my best not to miss as many as I can. Seniors have the ability to live in the upper class housing that is better than the house that I live in right now, some of those upper class houses. So and the majority of students do stay on campus on the weekend. I got a few questions about what do the weekends look like, or people leaving and going off campus. As the adult who oversees the student life aspect of campus and the on-campus living part, there are days that I wish you all would go home for some of the weekends, but no, students are typically on campus more than they are home. I would say people go home so then that way they can have a home cooked meal every now and then, which leads me to another question that I'm gonna have the students answer about dining on campus. But people go home so they can have a home cooked meal. Some people like how mom or dad or whomever from the house does their laundry, so they go home for that. People obviously visit other campuses, but Endicott on the weekends is pretty jam-packed with humans staying in the residence halls and on the general campus. The two questions that I would like for the students to answer is what your experience is like on the weekends, as well as what is the food like on campus. Those are two questions that I got. But before you answer those, I wanted to answer about triples. We do have, we don't call them forced triples, we call them build-up triples. The majority of first-year students will end up in in an expanded occupancy triple. As you heard Julie say, even the triples, there's enough space to make it not feel like a triple. And the way that you set up your room, which Residence Life is awesome at helping throughout the summer of what that looks like to be able to set up the room. So that was the question that I got about triples. I also got asked a question about where you could live where you're not having to share a bathroom with the floor. For first year students, your choice would be Bayview. That is a shared bathroom amongst your suite mates. So you're living in suites in Bayview Hall. I will say this, if you choose a Bayview Hall or are placed in a Bayview Hall, you are cleaning your own bathroom. There are not, our cleaning staff doesn't go into the private bathrooms to do the cleaning. They do obviously do the hall joint bathrooms. I got asked a question also about if there is a place for all female living. As of right now, we have Trexler Hall, which is one of our first year halls that is designated for all female housing. That may change dependent on who's living on campus this coming year or what space we need to open up. But there are full floors or wings of different floors, wings of different halls that are designated all female or all male. So that is my attempt to answer that. Reynolds, I got a question about that. Yes, Reynolds is all freshmen. Is Frady's all quads? No, but it is a good number of quads now. It is all triples, and if it isn't a triple, it is a quad. And I would say at this point, we're probably about, this first year class is probably about 80% quads in Frady's Hall. Okay, so not off campus, nope. What do you do on the weekends on campus, and how do you feel about the food?
I can start. So I think one thing that's really unique about Endicott is everyone wants to stay there on the weekends, whether it's going to athletic games or just hanging out with your friends, or once you're not a first year student and you can have a car on campus. People usually go to trips like into Beverly or Salem, or Gloucester has a lot of nice like parks to explore and stuff like that. So I think it's just really cool that like you definitely see the Endicott community on the weekends, because everyone's at the football games, everyone's at the basketball games, hockey games, lacrosse games. It's really cool to just see everyone go out to all the different events that we have on campus, and then including different events that are hosted by student activities like late night locale and stuff like that. As far as food goes on campus, I know I'm one of the pickiest eaters, so I thought it was going to be a very difficult time coming to Endicott, and it actually has been so great for me. I think the only adjustment that most people need to make is there is the same thing a lot sometimes. For me, that's not an issue. I can eat the same thing every day for 365 days a year, but it just forces you to get creative with it. So I've seen people make different sandwiches or different quinoa bowls. I know the two most popular days that I've seen are chicken patty satty. Everyone seems to love chicken patties on Saturdays, and it's been like a running tradition at Endicott for a while. And then Wednesdays they have I think it's like a mac and cheese, or you can kind of create your own pasta dish. So the lines are always long for that. And then of course on the weekends, Endicott's famous brunch. They have a really good breakfast options, and their omelets are, from what I've heard, to die for. And the line seems to be telling of that. So.
Building on Nick's point, being an athlete at Endicott, the athletics, everyone supports one another. So every weekend, or every week, I think, there's an email sent out with it's called the Blue Buzz. So it has all of the events that are, for the week, sports games, like Nick said, late night locale is always on there. But athletes are always, athletes and non-athletes always support one another. Whether that's going to plays or musicals, whether that's going to a women's basketball game, a men's soccer game, biased women's ice hockey games. But just everyone kind of supports one another, and there's always something to do. A lot of the time you're not sitting in your room, watching Netflix. You're out and about, you're talking with friends, you're creating new relationships with people, you're supporting one another, you're going to the gym. You find these habits that you have, and you kind of build on that, and you start to get out in the community more when you're at college. So just kind of, I recommend when you come in as a freshman, to, put yourself out there and go to these events, go to late night locale, go see one of the musicals, go see a play, attend a men's basketball game. So just kind of the things like that. And going to food, I will eat anything and anything. So I have no issues with Callahan whatsoever. Even being a senior, we have a full kitchen. I don't think I've made one meal. I think I'm always at Callahan. If you're not going for the food at Callahan, you're going for the social hour. I think most nights after practice, I'm there for 2+ hours, just sitting with the team, hanging out with the team, seeing friends. So Callahan is yes for food, but I think too more of like the social aspect too.
I couldn't agree more with Michaela. You will never be bored on the weekends at Endicott, and I don't think I have much to add. Nick and Michaela have already said pretty much everything. There are a whole variety of activities that to do. I personally enjoy gatherings with friends over the weekend, sometimes going to Low Night Cal when Julie is hosting. We have karaoke nights. Many times we watch movies down there. You'll see when you come, it's a big screen in a really big room with a lot of places to sit down, and you have the opportunity to hit the gym if that's one of the things that you want to do, so you'll never really be bored. There is a variety to pick from. And in terms of the food, I think we have about 6 different food stations at Endicott. So yes, Nick said sometimes there'll be a lot of the same things, but there'll be a wide variety of food as well. I know they have one station as well that they call the International Station. It's one of my favorite. All the Asian stir fried and everything you'll find there if that's something that you're into. And there are definitely vegan options, gluten-free options, so you don't have to worry about any of that. You'll be fed well. A lot of my friends, when they visit from different schools, they come to Endicott, they're always mesmerized by our stations, the amount and variety of food that we have compared to some other schools. Yeah, I'm gonna be biased and say.
We also have, other than the dining hall, there's other eateries on campus. There's the opportunity to eat at the Lodge, which is a late night eatery, mozzarella sticks, I hear are quite popular at 2 a.m. There is also Gully's, which is our pub on campus, but it is opened during the morning and the afternoon for both breakfast and lunch. And then once our new wax building is completed, there'll be another eatery inside of there that'll also have takeout option and mini grocery type of an option as well.
Don't forget about Einstein's.
Oh gosh, I did forget about Einstein's. It's because I've cheated on Einstein's with Gullies lately for my breakfast. There's also Einstein's, which is a great place to grab coffee, bagel, lunch sandwich, breakfast sandwich on the go really early, and then also they stay open different hours as well from the dining hall.
And
Can I just say one more thing about dining? Being an orientation leader, not myself, I've seen countless people with literally every allergy imaginable, sometimes even multiple upon multiple of allergies. And I've seen firsthand like how good our dining hall really is. Paul Belsky, who's kind of the manager of it all, really goes one-on-one with those students. And I've seen him go above and beyond for those students and really making them feel comfortable in a place that, like, if you have allergies, is a very stressful place sometimes. So it's just really cool to see like how far he goes above and beyond. So if you have any allergies, I definitely encourage you to reach out earlier so they know about it, especially if it's like more on the severe end. And I've seen them make accommodations that are really helpful and make those students feel a lot more welcome. Even making the gluten-free station, like putting up signs that says like, don't bring anything in here that is even remotely close to gluten, stuff like that. It just goes a long way for those students.
yeah, and I'd like to touch on the weekend life and dining quickly. I think in both categories, what applies is like, it's what you make of it. And if you want it, you can have it. So on the weekends, if you want to go out, you can go out and you'll have a good time. If you don't want to go out, there's so many opportunities and wonderful things that you can do. You can hang out with your friends at late night. I work there, and basically we put on fun events where you can come and like make things or play games and watch movies. But there are nights that my friends want to go out. There are times where we want to go to sports games. There's times that we want to go and drive up the street to go look at the ocean. There's a lot to do. So for anyone, and there's somebody here that wants to do it with you. You just have to find those people. That's what freshman year is about. So, and then the dining hall is the same way. If you want it, you can have it in the sense that if you want to eat healthy, there's always a healthy option. If you don't want to eat healthy, there's always an unhealthy option. And while sometimes things are repetitive, I think it's just another adjustment period where it's like, you're not at home. Your mom's not going to make your favorite meatloaf once a week, but it's just another adjustment period. And the food's pretty good for, a college campus. It is just people sometimes get sick of the repetitiveness, but if you can continue to, search for things that you want to eat, then it's not a problem. It's never been a problem for me. And I love Callahan. So, yeah.
Michaela, would you mind answering? We're running really short on time. We were supposed to end at 11:45. I was speaking with a couple of people from admissions. We're going to keep it going for about 6 more minutes. Michaela, I would like for you to answer an athletic question, and then I am going to shoot off some answers to some questions that I've gotten sidebarred as well. And then we're going to say a goodbye and I hope to see you on campus soon. But I'll obviously wrap that up at the end. Michaela, the question, how do you balance a sport and classes is the number 1 part. Number 2 is, how do you join an athletic team in general? The number 3 part is, are there other ways to get involved with athletics, like i.e. team manager, assistant, intramurals? Sure. I know that's a lot that I just threw at you, so I can re-ask if you need me to.
So to start with getting involved in sports, I came in as a recruit. So I was one of 9 freshmen to come in. But there's opportunities to join different teams. I have a friend that came in playing volleyball and then played basketball. So there's tryouts, you can talk to coaches when you're on campus. It's not hard to get involved in sports. There's also opportunities for intramural sports. I think they have basketball, volleyball, floor hockey, broom ball on the Endicott at the rink. There's endless things to do. You can go to the post and you can swipe your goal card and get a basketball and go play basketball with your friends. There's endless opportunities to get involved in athletics. And also just being a supporter is a big part too. At Endicott, you know, I mentioned before, everyone supports everyone. So if you're not on a team, you know, you are still a part of the team because you're a fan and you're there for the experience and you're there to see everyone else's success. What were the other questions?
How you balanced your classes.
So I actually have been an athlete most of my life. So I've been able to balance school and sports, and I am a daughter of a coach, so I know the pressure to be perfect on the playing surface and off the playing surface. But what I learned in college is it's a lot harder, it's a lot faster pace, and you need to learn when to ask for help. I think maybe the second or third week of school, I had a huge project, kind of making a binder of policies about an athletic director. And I didn't really know A.D. Wiley back then. I knew of A.D. Wiley, but I took my binder to him, knocked on the door, introduced myself, and we sat down and we went through it. And the faculty and staff are there to help you no matter what. And there's also different resources that we have. So the writing center, the tutoring center, the career center. So there's so many things put into place that you need to use and utilize and ask for help. And that's how you're going to be successful.
Thank you so much. So I am, any other athletic questions, Dr. Brian Wiley is more than happy to answer via email. His email is B, as in Brian, Wiley, at endicott.edu. Wiley is W-Y-L-I-E. I will answer I'm going to answer a couple of sidebars before we say bye-bye, but one of them is about athletics, but I actually can answer this one. If you're an athlete, do you room with your teammates? You have the option to, and some of the coaches suggest that you do. It's a personal preference. No one's forcing you to live with anyone. So it's up to you. It sometimes is a benefit for you as an athlete, is my assumption, because you have the same practice times, you're waking up early, you're leaving at the same times. A lot of you are studying on similar schedules. So that was for Timmy. Molly asked if there are living learning communities, and if I can go over them. 2 of them were those healthy living communities that I mentioned for first year students. And then we have 2 others this upcoming year that we are spearheading. One is a leadership opportunity in Reynolds Hall, a living learning leadership community. And then we have not figured out, because we don't know the interest yet, but there's going to be a women's empowerment, either floor or wing or hall, depending on the interest. So those are 2 of our living learning communities that we are planning. I got a question about, once you deposit, how long before you know where you are housed? So you're going to find out where you're housed in the beginning of August. Because of the, you need to go through orientation. A lot of you will be meeting each other either virtually through these Zoom sessions or virtually on Instagram and Facebook, and the other sessions that we have planned for first year students. So we wait until students have the opportunity to say, I want to live with Michaela, before they're just automatically saying where they want to live. So it is still based off of your deposit date. And our Residence to Life office is more than happy to answer any questions that first year students have as of right now. The email to reach them is res, R-E-S, life, L-I-F-E, at endicott.edu. I got another question about colleges. Some colleges have extended their deposit date to June instead of May 1st. As of right now, we're staying with May 1st, but admissions will 100% reach out if that changes. But as of right now, we're a hot school. People want to be here. So the May 1st, we're keeping with that deadline. But if it changes, like I said, I am positive you will all be reached out to by admissions. I got asked a little bit about diversity. I could speak about it for hours, but we only have a couple of minutes. Endicott is, the person put it right out there that it seems like it's fairly homogeneous. It is a predominantly white campus. However, we are 10% diverse, probably more on the closer end of a 12%, both international as well as domestic diversity. There are numerous clubs that you can join to become engulfed in diversity on campus, and we have numerous programs and activities that are culturally based. And our director of spiritual life, Gail Cantor, does a phenomenal job pulling the entire community together, speaking on diversity, bringing in diverse activities, etc. I'm happy to speak on Sidebar at any point. Feel free to email me. I'm bjohnson@endicott.edu. We talked about the food on campus. There was, hold on, we're almost there. During short breaks, international students, I was asked from a couple, do you have to go home during like a spring break, which is only a 1-week period? No, we do not force you to. You need to fill out an application so that way we know who's on campus, and that way we can make sure we're checking in on everyone and that everyone is safe when they are here on campus. So no, we don't force you to go home for that week. We do have a full week off during Thanksgiving, which is not typical for all colleges. That would be another week that you'd be able to make the decision of filling out a form or going somewhere else. One student asked, they thought they heard Nicholas say that first years can have cars on campus. No, they cannot. First year students are not allowed to have cars on campus. If you needed your car for, say, a 24-hour period, there's the ability to connect with public safety to get a short guest pass. But as first year students, we don't have cars on campus. Our reason is us wanting you to make sure that you are falling in love with the Endicott campus and not just leaving. Myself, short story, I had the ability to have a car on campus at the college that I went to, and I consistently went home to visit my high school boyfriend. Not a smart move. I missed out on being able to join clubs and organizations and do all of the things that I should have been doing as a first year student. I then got my car taken away by my lovely parents, and then I was forced to be on campus, and that's when I clearly fell in love with everything college, or I wouldn't still be working on and at one. Storage and closet space for the quads and Frady's. Has been put up enough racks and storage space, as well as bureaus or chest of drawers, however you call them, for the amount of students that are living in Frady's Hall. Opportunity to see the residence halls virtually. Yes, I believe admissions is pulling together videos of that for you. I'm sure that information will be sent out to you soon. Can you be an RA freshman year? Yes, you can, but not until second semester of freshman year. And you will see the applications roll out, and the RAs will be talking to students about that. When do you register for classes? That will be happening in the beginning of the summer, probably around, we're looking at like a June time. The date isn't set yet, but you will receive information about that, and your advisor as well as the deans will help walk you through parts of those processes. If you're thinking of changing your major, I would love for you to contact admissions as soon as possible to let them know. That is something that they would need to know, so in that way they can make sure that there's enough space in that major for this upcoming year, as well as to let the deans know who is switching in and out of majors. I am out of time. I am so thrilled that you all joined us. We had at one point 300 people. We're now down to 239. This has been great. Even though I can't see all of your faces, I'm looking forward to seeing them on campus. Thank you, Dr. Wiley. Thank you, Brianne. Thank you, Michaela, Nick, and Sheed, and Julie. I truly appreciate all of you for being on here. I'm going to guess you can find the students on the interwebs of all of the social media if you want to talk to them. And then, like I said, for myself and Brian and Brianne, we are available via email. It is our first initial and then our last name at endicott.edu. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for being a part of this session. Thank you, students. I miss you all. I appreciate you being here with us. Talk to everyone soon.
Great.